In the journey of life, you are in control of your own destiny. Where you go and how far, you decide.
So welcome today to You Decide, and I'm your host, Anastasia Theodoropoulos. And today we have with us Miss Theresa Brown. And Theresa Brown is a mother, a grandmother, a concerned citizen of the community, and is currently running for school board of the Delaware Valley School District. Welcome, Theresa. How are you today?
I'm good. It's great to be here.
Great, great. So tell us a little bit about what compelled you to want to run for school district and help out the current situation.
Well, it's an interesting question. I moved here, and I know I have a lot of neighbors and friends that are in the Delaware Valley School District. I know what a great reputation Delaware Valley has as a school, that it has great values and everything. And so I never thought that we would encounter the kind of issues at our school district that we're seeing. And I got a phone call out of the blue from someone, and they said, Theresa, we really think you need to go to the school board meeting tonight. And so I said, okay. And so I went, and I was shocked. I was shocked to see that, the same kind of behaviors we're hearing about throughout the country are occurring here in Delaware Valley, where parents were being silenced, not being allowed to talk, being treated really rather abusively by the current board. People are being, people drive there, they go out of the way, it's winter time in Pennsylvania, foggy, snowy, icy streets, dark. They drive over there because they're concerned about what's happening in the schools. They want to voice their opinions on various things and voice their concerns, maybe ask questions, and they drive over there and they're being silenced. And then the board silences them, goes in another room for their executive session where we're completely excluded, and makes their decisions, and then they come out and we're adjourned and sent home.
So let me ask you this question. If a parent goes in there and after all that and wants to ask a question, what happens?
They can ask a question, but the questions are not going to be answered by the board. The board has adopted a policy. It hasn't been a policy forever, but it's been a policy for at least a year and a half, I would say, where they refuse to answer any questions that are asked during the board meeting. And one outcome of that action is that it means that there's no dialogue. A person, generally, I would say that when a person in this group asks a question, it's a question that concerns the whole community. We're not asking questions about, do you like the color of my shirt? We're asking things that concern every parent in the district and every taxpayer in the district. And so people who are listening, who can't come, would probably like to hear the answers to these questions, but the board refuses to answer any questions. So their response, if you do ask a question, will be email me your question, and they swear that they answer all emails. I've heard that's not true. I've heard that from multiple sources, that their emails are not answered. But even if they were answered, there's no dialogue for the community to know what the answer to the question is. And
how frustrating.
Yeah. In my opinion, all of this should be completely 100% transparent. There's no reason not to have, if they want to justify some policy of not asking questions or not answering questions, then at least make those questions, post them boldly somewhere on the Delaware Valley School District website, so parents can see what kind of concerns are being raised and what the answers to those questions are.
Well, you see, that makes total common sense, because you can have parents or different parents coming every month asking the same questions
Right.
without a response. I mean, that's the definition of lunacy. And, certainly many of us have seen the social media, the video clips from all around the country of parents being concerned, trying to be part of the process of demanding transparency. Well, here at Delaware Valley, we have such a great reputation. Our school district is phenomenal, and yet we are encountering similar issues, is what you're telling us.
Absolutely. And in fact, if a person goes on Facebook, there are videos on Facebook of our own board meetings where a person, one recent situation, one of the community members was there and they stood up and they were reading out of a textbook that is in the Delaware Valley School Library. And I gotta tell you, I'm no saint, but it was sickening. It turned my stomach to know, to hear what was being read and to know that that's in our school library is just disgusting. And there's a video clip of that on Facebook that I think can be found pretty easily. And you can see the president of the school board, Jack Fisher, silencing the person who is reading out of the book. And he becomes extremely irate, extremely demanding, and ma'am, sit down. I'm telling you now, and they think nothing of having us escorted out if we say or do anything that they don't.
So let me get this straight. You're telling me that the school board doesn't want to hear literature that's given to the students because they may be offended, and yet they want our young children reading that literature.
Yeah, that's exactly true. And one thing that really struck me, there's 9 board members sitting up there along with the superintendent, Brian Blom. They're all hearing this content. I'm hearing it for the first time. I didn't know that content was in the library. And I was shocked. If I, and hopefully I will be, was sitting up there on the board, I would be immediately responding to the fact that that literature has no place in the hands of children. It's pornographic. There's no other way to describe it other than pornography. And instead of reacting, repulsed at what they're hearing, the board just wanted to not have this discussion. They didn't. From my perspective, I'd be like, let's go through this literature. Let's go through the libraries. Let's find every book that has any content anywhere near that and get it out of the libraries.
So let me get this straight, because the Supreme Court has judged that, and this is not new, that obscene information on the school property is illegal. And for some reason, it seems to be hushed. It seems to be something that we don't want to deal with, meaning our school district doesn't want to deal with, yet the parents are very concerned and they're being hushed about this. So let me ask you this question, Theresa. It doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to some of our viewers. I have no idea. Please comment. But if I were to walk in with Playboy into one of our schools, one of our prestigious schools that my children also attend, what would happen to me?
I would think someone would throw you out and throw out the Playboy. But the Playboy is no different from what is in these libraries. And so it's a matter of the board did explain that the policy for letting books come into the library is that librarians make these decisions. And then the decision of the librarian is reviewed by one principal, and that's it. And whatever that principal determines is okay, it gets approved. And so these books are coming into the library without, and there's, I don't know, tens of thousands of books.
From what I understand, there's over 200,000 books.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that the principal authorizes these books. I mean, how much time can he have? Does he actually look through them, number one?
Right.
And number two, what kind of policy does that entail for today's times, when we know that there are certain agendas being pushed down federally and state and many are feeling that they're sexualizing our young, innocent children. And that's not okay. That's not okay for a lot of parents, who feel that they are their children's keeper, not the government. So, of course, they would be concerned, it seems to me, Theresa, that they'd want to know, what are my children really learning? And are they being corrupted in some way? When a child reads, they go into that world. So if they're reading something explicit, they're being contaminated into a world that they're not ready for to handle those emotions, it seems.
That's so true, Anastasia. And it's worse than that, because it's like it has so many legs, and it just affects every element in the schools. And so one question you asked a few minutes ago is, how this is getting in. I've had discussions with people on Facebook where they're referring to this material as soft romance. And I'm like, so it's another, in some instances, we have people who are relabeling what something is. It's porn, plain and simple. But they want to relabel it and give it a different name and somehow say it's okay because it's this and not that. Another aspect of it, I was thinking about how when we were young, we were taught right schools. We were protected in our schools. We were protected from material like this when we were in schools, and we were taught right from wrong. And even in our generation, as a young girl, there were pressures for young girls to do things to not be a good girl. And now when we have the schools that are putting this pressure through letting this kind of material come into the school, somehow telling the kids that promiscuity is okay, that this lifestyle and this behavior, multiple partners, is something just to be taken lightly. That sends such a horrific message to kids. And so then let's say you have the parent here who is saying, who's teaching their kid, this is wrong, don't do this. Then the kid is going to school and being taught this other stuff by their teachers, by their peers, by whomever. Suddenly you can see how that puts a division between the child and the parent, where the child is saying, my parents just don't understand. They don't get it.
So let me get this straight, because it seems that regardless of where your political stance is, there are certain things I think we could all agree as a community. One of them being academic achievement. One thing that we've learned, correct me if I'm wrong, is with this pandemic is that reading levels went down, math levels went down. So what are we doing to increase the level and catch up and move ahead and have each child excel, dealing with reading, writing, arithmetic, and science, and not these social issues where, it'll pin neighbor against neighbor. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, do you have, in your experience, in your life, have you worked in a school? What is your experience with that?
I have worked in a school. My career basically was, I was faculty and department head at a community college in Tucson, Arizona for 21 years.
So 21 years. So in your 21 years at college level, okay, did you see obscenity like this? And we're talking about adults, 18 and over. I mean, have you encountered anything like this?
Well, I never looked for it. So I can't say that it wasn't there. I think a lot of us feel that way right now, where when did all of this start? Because all of a sudden it's there, and it's so overwhelmingly there. We know, it obviously didn't start trickling in yesterday. This has been happening for a while. So I don't know what the dividing line is, but I did witness the first 15 years. And before I was full-time faculty and department head at the college in Arizona, I was also faculty at Gonzaga University in Washington State, Spokane, and at a community college. And I loved teaching. I love curriculum development. I love, designing courses and books and, finding new creative ways to teach material, doing innovative things. And I always thought, I'm never going to retire. Why would I retire? I love doing this. I would rather do this than watch TV. I don't even have a television anymore. But then, things are changing. And what has been really occurring is that the agenda that we see, the Marxist agenda, there's no other way to describe it. The Marxist agenda is filtering down, and it starts with, the federal government saying, here's this money in order to have these grants and this other funding. You have to do these things. And then you end up having these administrators. The college ends up having to have these administrators who will comply with, whatever these government requirements are in order to get that funding. So it's kind of a matter of selling our souls and selling out our schools. And this has been going on for decades now. And we've seen the United States had the greatest educational system in the world. Everybody knew that. We've seen it degrading more and more and more. And as you mentioned a few minutes ago, the academic excellence we're seeing, especially at the elementary school age right now, is really collapsing. It's breaking down a lot.
Well, it's good to see that there are good people out there who are willing to take the fight on. Certainly, this is not something anybody should desire, but it certainly seems that you're duty-bound to try to do the right thing for the future of our society. And we wish you the best of luck, Theresa Brown. Please don't forget, May 16th is the primary date for voting here in Pennsylvania. And if you live here locally in Pike County, please make sure to get out the vote. Make sure to review your candidates, what they stand for, not just if there's an R or a D in front of their name, but they have a record, they should stand by it. Make the decision, get out and vote, get your friends out to vote, because this is going to be a very, very important election. Thank you so much.
Thank you.